Kia ora, talofa, namaste, haere mai, and welcome to this week's episode of The Niche Case. Little interesting niche cast coming up today. Unique little spot in the sporting calendar. So we're going to do something a little bit funky. We are from The Niche Case. We cover Aotearoa sport to the best of our ability in honor of Aotearoa and Aotearoa sport. Visit our website, theniche-case.com, where we are always writing about Aotearoa sport, big yarns, all the time, except for this week, as we'll discuss. Also, big it up to the Patreon whānau, all the Patrons who support the Niche Case, and also get an extra cricketing podcast every week. Funky times for Aotearoa cricket. So if you love Aotearoa cricket as much as we do, there's an extra cricketing podcast on Patreon every week. Also, if you just love the Niche Case and want to support us and kind of join the whānau and ride or die with us, patreon.com/our Niche Case is the best way to support us straight up the guts. No fluff, no wakan furries, just you supporting us and us delivering the Aotearoa sporting content. And big it up to the email newsletter delivered via Substack, thenichecase.substack.com. All these links are in the description box to however you get your podcasts. And all we do is provide Aotearoa sporting content and little treasure nuggets that you can find everywhere else as well. We've got an extra cricketing podcast on Patreon. And then the email newsletter features extra Aotearoa sporting yarns every Monday and Friday evening, as well as all the Niche Case content straight into your email inbox, as well as just plenty of reasons to get off social media, because all the podcasts, all the links, they come straight through the email, as well as the extra yarns. Let's do a bit of mindfulness here, Wildcard. Let's start off with some mindfulness before we crack into what we're going to discuss today.
Yeah, how about this one from ancient Indian poet Kabir, who said, "Go slow, my mind. Everything happens at its own pace. The gardener may water 100 pots, but the fruit will only appear in its season."
It's just beautiful. So I just have to stop myself from exploding with insights there, Wildcard. We got some timing.
In its own time. Explode in its own time.
Everything happens in its own time, especially in these crazy times we're living in. We got some, timing and controlling nature of humans. We love to fidget. We love to get all masculine and want to control things, whereas nature's more feminine. Things happen in time, and they happen with reliability in time, with thanks to nature as well. So that's a beautiful little dose of mindfulness. Like maybe we just ease off and let nature do its course. And that's nature as far as the birds and the bees, as well as us as human beings. We're part of nature. And if we just ease off the controlling forces and let things happen in due time, all good, baby.
Yeah, humans have a frustrating tendency to be control freaks, and to want to not just control our own timings, but to control the timings of everything around us and dictate how nature's supposed to go. And maybe rather than trying to bring nature into our own timing, maybe it's a more efficient way of working to bring ourselves into nature's timing, and maybe chill back in that mindset instead.
Like, imagine how weird control freaks are. Like someone who wants to control other people, whether at a grand scale or just a small scale. Think about how just icky that is. And then apply that to trying to control nature. That's not going to happen. It's not going to service you in any way possible at all. So fantastic little dose of mindfulness in the Wildcard. And we are reminded here and now, clock's just gone 11:11 on May 26th. 2022, to just chill out a bit, chill out with controlling, and just enjoy the timing of nature. And I don't know if you believe in things happen when they're supposed to happen and all that good stuff. Nature's always there for you. Nature's going to hook you up. You just got to ease back and chill out, kick back. And I think, Wildcard, that's my advice to Aotearoa Warriors fans. We are here at an interesting time of the sporting calendar. May 26th. Not much is happening right now, but we do have a lot of stuff coming up in the coming weeks. Black Caps are playing. Aotearoa Kiwis are playing a test for the first time since 2019. All Whites are playing. The city kickboxing, UFC and boxing and all that stuff's happening. Basketball's happening. But right now it's all a bit chill. It's all a bit mellow. And I've taken some time off from writing just to make the most of that timing, being in tune with natural timing and the phases of nature in our Aotearoa sporting calendar. I've kicked back, and from my hibernation wildcard, I've got this idea, because one of the big things that is happening right now is rugby league, NRL trucks on, and there's a lot of mayhem around the Warriors right now. So thought it'll be interesting just for this podcast is just to zone in on a guide to Aotearoa Warriors fandom, maybe just some stuff for Warriors fans and people who are enlightened enough to step outside the Warriors fandom, but might want information around the Warriors and what's happening, just to break it all down and offer some clarity with what's happening here. And I don't know, like over the course of, like we've discussed a few times, just how obviously the Warriors are cursed. We know that. Part of that curse has been how opinions have played their part in helping us understand that the Warriors are cursed, because everyone's got opinion on the Warriors coach or the Warriors players, or the Warriors should do this, the Warriors should do that. Well, the Warriors have kind of done a lot of those things, and the Warriors are still, where they are. And they've been who they are for a long time now, and it's all good. They are what they are. But that is to say, less opinions and more facts here, Wildcard. And that's something that I've done a bit of research on, tried to find some insights here just to set it up with facts. This comes off, like we have discussed this before. First fact is that the Warriors, like the Phoenix, like the Breakers, are operating at a disadvantage in their respective competitions. So that's a fact. The Warriors don't have a home ground. The Warriors have been based in Australia for a few seasons now, and that is going to impact their footy. And that goes hand in hand with another fact, that the Warriors aren't like that good. They're just kind of in tune with their previous levels of mediocrity. And I'd add an opinion here, Wildcard. Don't have the Warriors high up on the watchable radar, on the scale. Like, I don't necessarily want to watch the Warriors for rugby league entertainment or high levels of rugby league. There's other teams that'll do that. I just don't have the Warriors high up on the watchable scale, which is to say, I'm not like fizzing to watch the Warriors versus the Knights over any other rugby league game in the NRL this weekend. So that's also like some facts. The Warriors are as mediocre as they've always been, and they are also severely disadvantaged. So those two facts are working in conjunction with each other. A couple of other facts here, Warriors, Wildcard. Ooh. Little
steady on.
Yeah.
What to think?
I think you're just permeating levels of mediocrity, and I just thought, like,
must be
Wildcard Warriors.
Freud will have something to say about that, no doubt.
Okay, so another fact: the Warriors, the New Zealand Herald labelled Chanel Harris-Tavita a headline player. He's not a headline player. If he was a headline player, what does that make Dejan Arce? It was basically the same thing as Chanel Harris-Tavita. We discussed that on the Variety Show. That's just a small fact. Another fact, the Warriors signed Matt Lodge. That's purely based out of convenience. Matt Lodge was playing for the Brisbane Broncos, and he joined the Warriors, who are based in Brisbane. So the only reason Matt Lodge is signing with the Warriors is because they're based in Brisbane. So who cares how he wants to leave, if he wants to leave? He only joined the club based on convenience. Who cares? Same thing for Jesse Arthurs, though. Jesse Arthurs is far more likable than Matt Lodge, but he's only joined the Warriors out of convenience. He was playing for the Brisbane Broncos. Now he's playing for the Warriors, who are based in Redcliffe, which is in Brisbane. Like, these are signings based on convenience. That's a fact. The Warriors joined forces with the Redcliffe Dolphins in a mutually beneficial situation. The Warriors didn't change their whole system to join the Redcliffe Dolphins. COVID hit and wiped out the Warriors reserve grade team. So then how do we make the most of the situation? We join forces with the Redcliffe Dolphins. They get the benefit of preparing for NRL expansion, operations, all that stuff, logistics. The Warriors get a home base and they get a reserve grade system they can place players into, under 21 system they can place players into, and an under 18 team. So the Warriors lost an SG ball team, they lost a reserve grade team, and they lost a women's team. And if the Warriors have a reserve grade team, that reserve grade team consists of strictly Warriors players. Right now, the Warriors are sprinkling players into a Redcliffe Dolphins team. The Warriors had an SG ball team. All those players are Warriors players. The Warriors have a Redcliffe under 21 team and an under 18 team. The Warriors sprinkle players into those teams, which means they don't have the same number of slots available to players, which is why a lot of players have left. That's a fact as well. So that's why Josiah Karapani's left to go to the Rabbitohs. That's why Stanley Iongi, he didn't have much space with the Warriors. He left to join the Raiders. William Whakatomafe, Deion Amatuanai, they joined the Panthers. A lot of that stuff was happening. The Warriors are not renowned at player development. That's a fact. Like, players get better leaving the Warriors. I can't argue with that. It's like, seems to be a fact these days. Then I did a bit of research, Wildcard, and I looked into what the Warriors have done in 2022. And these, again, are facts. The Warriors had an under 18 sevens rugby team. The Warriors had players in the New Zealand Rugby League under 20s competition. The Warriors had an under 18 academy team that toured around the North Island. The Warriors had players in the Auckland under 16 competition and the under 18 competition. The Warriors have their own juniors playing in Auckland's Fox Memorial Premier Men's competition. And the Warriors also have players in Redcliffe under 18s and Redcliffe under 21s. That was all kind of surprising because all of that has happened within 6 months of this year. That's a lot of Warriors junior development stuff. That's a lot of Warriors junior pipeline stuff being established in Aotearoa and Australia with Redcliffe Dolphins. So it's an interesting mix of facts there, Wildcard. And the point of this is to provide some guidance for Warriors fans. And my guidance based upon a lot of that is chill the fuck out. Like, we are dealing with some extreme volatility here. We are dealing with the Warriors are highly unwatchable and they are also severely disadvantaged. We are dealing with the fact that the Warriors are not renowned at player development to the point where the basic fuckboy narrative about Warriors stuff is to say, oh, the Warriors suck. The Warriors junior system is terrible, all that stuff. That's based on this idea, this fact that the Warriors are not renowned player developing, not a renowned player development club. At the same time, the Warriors have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 important development junior things happening already in 2022. So we're dealing with opposites, I guess is my point. We're dealing with volatility between a lot of these opposites. And that's why people are going to be highly negative, and some level of insanity suggests that some people have a lot of positivity around the Warriors as well. My point in doing a lot of this research and covering the Warriors week in, week out for Warriors fans, and a point of guidance for Warriors fans, chill out. Release the extreme opinions and just relax. They will get back into some sense of normality with stable foundations moving forward 2023 and beyond. That stuff will happen. Now is not the time to come to any like extreme opinions about the Warriors. That's the main point of guidance I would like to share with Warriors fans and rugby league fans with the Warriors, because a lot of rugby league fans, they like to hate on the Warriors because they're the Kiwi dude who supports the Seagulls. Fuck the Warriors, they're shit. They are kind of mediocre at rugby league, but they're also doing a lot of other things that suggest they're not shit. So there's very extreme ideas here, and I'd go further. And the Warriors are quite unique compared to the Breakers and the Phoenix in the sense that these extreme opinions don't exist for the Phoenix or Breakers. A lot of them are going through the same situations. They're dealing with the same things and a lot of the same issues, as well as, they've got various levels of junior development, all that stuff. They're quite intertwined, I'd say. But folks don't have extreme opinions about the Phoenix or the Breakers, regardless of how good or bad they are, where irrationally folks have rather extreme opinions about the Warriors. So again, advice, guidance, just chill the fuck out and try to just mellow things out with regards to the Warriors moving forward, especially as we wrap up this year, because, who knows what's going to happen as far as results go and all that stuff. Just chill out.
Yeah, I always find that comparison between those three Kiwi sports teams in Australian competition. I mean, you can also arguably add in a fourth with the Tuatara baseball team, who basically had to pull out because they couldn't afford to go live in Australia. And I don't even know what's happening with them. They now own a basketball team in the NBL. So, and they're doing really well, actually. The Auckland Tuatara are top of the table, and Rob Lowe and Chris Johnson looking fantastic for them. A couple really good young fellas too. They're a fun team to watch. Unlike the Warriors at the moment, not as much fun. But I do find that that triangle really fascinating between the Warriors, the Breakers, and the Phoenix. Because as you say, the other two don't get the it's not even the coverage, it's a certain type of coverage. It's like if the Breakers lose, it's just like, well, the Breakers had another loss. If the Warriors lose, it's like, the Warriors lost, it's rock bottom, it's a disaster, they're pathetic, they're terrible. Like, you get this editorializing thing going on, and you always you get that thing where it'll be like, it's not enough just to cover the game. Let's cross live now to Sir Graham Lowe, who's going to tell us why the Warriors were so terrible, like as if he was involved in any way or has any sort of opinion to offer other than just that of Jerry watching at home, who's also a fan. And it's not actually helpful, and it's not actually informative in any kind of way. It's just stoking fires and whatever. And if the Breakers got the kind of, because the irony is, like, the Warriors are not, mediocre is a good word for them. They're not good, but they're not absolutely terrible. There's always it's one thing you say quite often. There's always at least one or two teams who are worse than the Warriors every single season. Never had a wooden spoon, Breakers just got a wooden spoon. If the Breakers got the level of outragey coverage that the Warriors get, I mean, I don't know what would happen to the Breakers then. They might have to disappear. They might have to crawl into a hole and hide, because they've made so many just bad mistakes. Like, it's not just like we had an idea and it didn't work, which is what you often get with the Warriors, where it's like they tried and they failed. The Breakers, it's like they've done stuff that was just actively stupid. Like, it's like, never get over the fact that they thought signing Glenn Rice a couple of years ago was a good idea, and then were surprised when it absolutely blew up in their face. Like, it was here for 2 months and got arrested a couple of times and booted out. And it's just absolutely shocking, especially when the coach had actually coached him previously at another club and he got kicked out of that team for fighting a teammate. It's like that same coach thought it was a good idea to bring him to another team. Like, those kind of things. I mean, you thought signing Matt Lodge was bad, at least Matt Lodge tried to be a teammate for the 14 games or whatever he hung around in. But that right now is like the biggest story out there about the Warriors. And it's another, like, what are the Warriors doing kind of thing? Like, Matt Lodge, why'd they sign him? He didn't even want to be there. And it's bonkers, because it's not in comparison, it doesn't fit. And then, like, the Phoenix, I don't think the Phoenix got enough coverage, is what they should, enough, not coverage, but recognition for what they achieved just because it was a sixth place finish and they lost in the first round of the finals, right? It just sounds like an average season, maybe slightly above average. You did make the finals. But to do so in the circumstances that they did, especially when you see what the Breakers and Warriors have done in certain similar circumstances, well, it was just an astounding effort. But it goes to prove an interesting point that reflects back on the others as well, because the thing they have in common is that they're all based in Australia and have been for 2 years, and it's really difficult. And there's various things that spin off from that about like difficulties with recruitment and financial stuff and home crowds and blah, blah, blah. It all stems from that one thing that they all share. But then from that starting point, like, because one thing I've said, like, that's a hurdle, but it's not a barrier. Like the Phoenix proved that themselves. It's like, it's a difficult thing to overcome, but there are always difficult things to overcome in every season. And arguably for the Phoenix, their long injury list was probably more of a hassle than the playing neutral games rather than home games. Especially by the end of the season, you know? So it's this like kind of, I don't know, funky situation where you just like, so they have this thing in common that they all share this thing, but then from that point onwards, you get all these other unique things that just can't be compared, really, like the Warriors' long history and the various curses and whatever their recruitment stuff is doing is completely different to how other teams and other sports have to go about things. And so it's a handicap that they all share, but from that handicap, you see that affecting the teams in like really unique, different ways. And arguably the Warriors are sort of in the middle there. Like the Phoenix found ways to overcome that. The Breakers found ways to just absolutely crumble under that pressure. The Warriors have done some crumbling and they've done some overcoming, sort of somewhere in between. It's a weird one because, yeah, the handicap is the same, but the impact of the handicap is kind of incomparable between the three teams because of the various other things that come with being those teams and those sports and those leagues.
And it's a combination of like the media and fans, because
it is, yes.
The media don't fire up irrational expectations around the Phoenix or the Breakers, but the media are always disappointed by the Warriors because whatever fucking reason, they thought the Warriors were going to be a top 8 team when there's no signs to suggest that it's going to be the case. There's no history to suggest that's the case, let alone anything else. So it's like, the media set these weird expectations to set up disappointment. They don't do that for the Breakers and the Phoenix, as you said, because of the history. Phoenix fans just seem to be solid, like they're just in the middle, and I think that's a good place to be. Of course, you're going to have a bit of insanity, just with the human nature, but I think a lot of Phoenix fans understand the situation, understand how their club's situated with financials and junior stuff. The Breakers barely have fans, so that's not going to happen right now either.
A lot of Twitter followers, though. A lot of American Twitter followers.
Let me just say that the Warriors have more American Twitter followers than they have a junior system.
The Breakers, yeah.
So it's a combination of like fan insanity and media insanity, which comes together for this weird narrative around the Warriors where they're always disappointing. For what? Because you unrealistically thought they were going to be good? That's not how it works. Like, they're just mediocre. And this brings me to we're dealing with a bit of mindfulness here, Wildcard, because I'm not expressing all this as if I'm the guy with the answers. I might be the guy with the answers, but it's only because I'm learning about this myself. So this brings into some key guidance points. We like to ground our mindfulness with like how to bring it back to reality, day-to-day living. Let's ground this discussion with some guidance points. And I actually mentioned 2 of them there, mediocrity and learn. So the mediocrity thing right now is good for the Warriors because they have been mediocre through their whole existence. As you said, mediocre is a key word here because it's not bad, it's not good, it's just mediocre. It's kind of like melancholy. Well, yeah, I'm suffering from a bit of melancholy, but I'm not a raging depressive psycho. Like I'm just in a bit of melancholy, I'm just in the middle. I'm just trying to chill in the middle. And this mediocrity is good for the Warriors because if they're doing the same stuff they've always done, despite the adverse context and scenario, that's okay. If they like, that's just okay. Let's just leave it at there. So guidance, Warriors mediocrity is all good in this context. Second piece of guidance, learn. If you're like listening to someone talk about how shit the Warriors junior system is, ask them what they know about the junior system. Do they know that some players from the under 18 sevens rugby team are playing Fox Memorial Men's Rugby League right now? Ask them that. Ask them if they know that the Warriors had an under 18 academy team that toured Whangarei, Rota Vegas, some of those areas. If they don't know any of that stuff's happening, they're not in a position to talk about the Warriors junior system. But if you learn about the Warriors junior system, then you'll understand just how it works, what they're doing. You'll understand the positives and the negatives that are happening with regards to the Kiwi NRL landscape. A lot of other Australian clubs are signing 14, 15-year-olds in Aotearoa, let alone the abundance of footy talent that Aotearoa has. We are the greatest footy nation in the world, just pure talent, kg for kg. So this point is about learning. There's plenty of niche case content you can learn about the junior Warriors, but I just get my information from Auckland Rugby League, from the Warriors themselves, from New Zealand Rugby League. All that information is public information, so you can learn about that yourself. So instead of complaining about the Warriors junior system, learn about the Warriors junior system, and then you'll be better equipped for expressing ideas and thinking about that system. Last point here is why. Last point of guidance, ask yourself why. Why do you feel that way about the Warriors? Because this is what has helped me get deeper into this journey. It's like, okay, if I'm having negative feelings about the Warriors, why do I feel that way? If I'm having, I love the Warriors right now, they're the best team in the NRL, why do I feel that way? And as soon as I ask myself why, it brings me down a level. I look at the whole system, and then I get into a bit more of that mediocre zone where mediocre is good in this context. But those are three key points. Mediocre is good in this current context. Learn about Warriors stuff. Learn about their connection with Redcliffe Dolphins. Learn about why Matt Lodge and Jesse Arthur signed with the club. Like, actually do your own research, do your own learning, learn about what is happening in local rugby league, grassroots rugby league, representative rugby league, Warriors junior systems, so you are better equipped as a Warriors fan. Because let's be honest, Wildcard, the more I know about the Warriors, I am learning that a lot of Warriors fans have no idea who their junior players are. And those are the Warriors fans. They are not the random media member. They are not the Tony Kemp type of characters. They are not the random guy supporting the Seagulls talking shit about the Warriors. They are the Warriors fans who know nothing about the junior system. Last point, ask yourself why. We have explained how unique this Warriors situation is with regards to fandom, with regards to expectations and all that shit. It's a experimentation of the human psyche, of human fandom, of human emotions and curses and trauma. So ask yourself why, and then you'll figure out how you fit into that as a Warriors fan, which will probably take you forward in a better place, because that's kind of the journey I've been on myself.
Yeah, I have like a couple of slight tangents that I think compare to this, which help with context. One is a lot of this, especially the media side of things, the way the Warriors get built up beyond what they should, and then it's like you build the house up just to destroy it. It's like it almost feels like just a game, just a game. Let's get everyone caring about the Warriors more than they should, or being overly optimistic, and then get just immensely frustrated and angry even when they don't live up to the unreasonable expectations you gave them in the first place. This feels like what New Yorkers talk about when they talk about their sports teams, excluding the Yankees and excluding the Giants, but in particular, the New York Knicks and the basketball and the New York Jets and the NFL. It feels a lot of like those kind of conversations where like you get overly optimistic because there's a cool young player coming through and then they don't live up to that and then you get annoyed, and but like it's just you overreact in order to then overreact in reaction to your overreaction. It's a weird cycle, and I think the Warriors do get caught up in that a little bit. The other one is as a Manchester United fan, like there was that thing recently about like the BBC, someone was training how to use the little Chiron thing, the scrolling bar, like news feed at the bottom of the screen, and they typed in Manchester United as rubbish, and then it accidentally went to air, and then there was all these apologies. But every Manchester United fan I've talked to or seen talking about it, like, has said, well, it's true. Like, what's the big deal? The BBC just reporting facts as usual, you know? And I'm like, well, yeah, but rubbish is contextual, you know, rubbish by their own history and expectations. Sure. Rubbish when you're the sixth best team in England, which has like 3,000 football clubs, and you're the sixth best. Like, rubbish it's a contextual way of talking about things. But then it reminds me of this Ralph Rangnick thing where they had Ralph Rangnick as coming in as their interim manager, which is objectively the wrong move. Like, you don't hire a tactician to be your interim manager because he doesn't have time to implement tactics. He's starting on the fly mid-season. You hire just a rack-up man, like you, someone who'll just come in and get everyone feeling good and play basic tactic type stuff. So that was badly. That went bad. But then when people ask me, like, did Ralph Rangnick did a good, like, what, they don't ask, did he do a good job? They say, how bad was he, sort of thing. I'm like, well, he did a bad job at coaching the team, which was exactly what the team needed. Like, it reminds me of the Warriors mediocrity thing. It's like, well, maybe Manchester United having a coach who wasn't able to coach them very well for the last 6 months might actually be beneficial in the long run, because you leave nobody in any kind of confusion as to where the club is actually at. Like, you don't cloud things with short-term results or whatever. You like, well, actually, you lay bare all the faults, kind of thing. I wonder if the Warriors maybe have had an experience like that over the last 2 years when they've been stuck in Australia, and some of those faults have just been more obvious than ever. And that's also why you probably don't want to overreact to someone like Nathan Brown as coach, because how many problems do you want to have at once? You want to chuck in a new integrated, like, if you believed in the appointment at the first time, speaking on like a team management perspective, if you believed in that appointment at the first time, like, you shouldn't really be overreacting now. It's another reason why I was actually a little bit disappointed Dan Shamir left the break. It's understandable for, like, he left for personal reasons, but I kind of wanted to see if his team would look as bad in more favorable circumstances with home games or whatever. But having said that about the Warriors, like, another point I do want to make though is that they're 4-7. You know, they've lost 3 in a row. They were 4-4 not that long ago. That includes like a round 1 loss to the Dragons, in which they were leading after 55 minutes. There was a 2-point loss to the Titans, 8-point loss to the Roosters, which was actually quite a decent performance. We'll ignore the Storm loss and we'll ignore the Sharks loss, but a 2-point comeback loss to the Rabbitohs, down by heaps, came back to only lose by 2, and then lost to the Dragons last week, in which they were winning again, like after about 50 minutes. I think they were still up at that point. Like, they're 4-7. Mediocre is a good word. They're not terrible, though. I certainly would not put it past them to beat the Knights this weekend. The Knights aren't exactly in great shape themselves. Like, contextual thing. It's easy to just focus on the headlines that they get and be like, the Warriors are an absolute disaster. This is shocking. It's like, well, the Breakers got a wooden spoon. The Warriors are actually only 2 points off the top 8. Like, keep things in context, and suddenly you get a different kind of perspective about where the team is at. Like, yes, they're in a difficult state. No, it's not rock bottom. They've had a couple rock bottom results week to week, but the overall shape of the season actually is nowhere near as bad as people seem to act like it is, you know?
And that points to the, like, if the Warriors are X away from the top 8, that's where they've always been, and they're doing that in a ridiculous scenario where they don't have a home advantage. They are based in a different country. Their resources are split between 2 countries. So again, mediocrity is good. That's kind of admirable. You I do like your little positive twist on the Warriors results. But I do have the Warriors as unwatchable. So
yeah, very cool.
Some of the results aren't going their way, but I'm not fizzing to watch the Warriors. And this brings me to, again, some grounded advice, because I think there are a lot of, well, we know for sure, like we've seen, funny that the Warriors have actually been to grand finals. That's happened. So that's kind of good. When the Warriors do go to a grand final, we know the situation. Bandwag, yeah, I love the Warriors. Warriors are the best team. Fantastic. Like, we've all experienced that. So that tells me there are a lot of casual Warriors fans. So I'm guessing, my guess is that, like, for casual fans, just tap out. Like, who cares? Like, it's all good. You don't have to be riding or dying with the Warriors right now. Like, this is not a time to invest your emotional energy with the Warriors. Even if
Don't punish yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Even if you're a casual who's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to go watch that Mount Smart return game. That's cool. That's fine. Like, you're supporting the club. That's all good. As long as you're not expecting them to win that game, like, because that's probably not going to happen. So for casual fans, now is the time to just let the other sports take over, let other NRL teams take over. If you're a casual Warriors fan, but you're a diehard rugby league fan, so much Kiwi NRL stuff is going on. It's all fantastic. That's all good. The niche case is here for both of that, the Warriors junior stuff and the Kiwi NRL stuff. So that's there for you. If you are a hearty Warriors fan, this is where we get into the chill out stuff. Like, I understand your need to watch the Warriors. I understand your need to be emotionally invested in the Warriors. My advice to you is to try and mellow that all out a bit. And as a hearty Warriors fan, maybe invest more of your energy towards learning some other Warriors stuff, like the junior stuff and some of that peripheral stuff, as opposed to what's happening strictly with the NRL team, because that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you're a hearty Warriors fan, good luck. May the force be with you. Just try and mellow your emotions out a wee bit and learn more about what's happening. Because I think that, you know, for whatever reason, the Warriors do get a lot of casual fandom, and it's all good for them to tap out. The diehard Warriors fans, they're probably going through the ringer. And I would suggest you take up a meditation practice. You maybe go about journaling your Warriors fandom, and most importantly, release your opinions. Because your opinions about coaches, your opinions about recruitment, all that stuff hasn't helped the Warriors ever before. So your opinions about change, what has that produced in the past? Nothing. It's led us to where we are now, where we are celebrating mediocrity. So it doesn't matter. Like, just release your opinions, try to mellow out, and roll with it. Any final words, Walker?
I think that's a nice way to summarize it. Basically, it's like, yes, like if you care about the team, want to support, like you watch the games, you roll with it, you get excited when they score, you get disappointed when they concede, and then when the game ends, turn the TV off and go outside for a walk and do something else. You know, clear your head. Maybe just don't carry that darkness when you kind of know, or not darkness. It might be euphoria. They might have won. That does happen too. Like, but just don't make it the focal point of your entire week. That goes for all sports, though. I think in general, it's nice to have a variety of interests and not be like, my sports team lost this week, I'm just going to be a bad mood for 7 days until they lose again next week and reset the cycle.
And if there are any changes to Aotearoa Warriors fandom and guidance we can offer, we'll be back later in the season. If we know anything about Warriors seasons, who knows what the fuck's going to happen wildcard, but that felt like some divinely led Warriors guidance for fans, hearty Warriors fans, and of course the filthy casuals and any rugby league fan. wanting to learn about how to support the Warriors and how to conduct themselves at this interesting time. We'll wrap up the podcast there. We'll be back. Busy times ahead. Variety show will be humming. The Patreon Cricket podcast will be humming. Big niche cast with so much happening next week as well. Lots of Aotearoa funky sports is happening, and we'll be here to cover it all as we do here at the Niche Case. We love Aotearoa and we love Aotearoa sport. Kia kaha, stay beautiful, raise your mana, Māori ora, and maybe just channel that Aotearoa warrior spirit within you to raise your mana and elevate your being and learn about yourself in the process. How about a bit of that? Bit of mindfulness here. A warrior's mindfulness just to finish wildcard. Learn about yourself in the process and how you connect with sports, because it's fucking weird. See you later. Chur. And stay beautiful if you can.